Most people fail at success principles because they don't know how to handle the reality of the path. As I audited my own goal-setting routine, I noticed that many of the goals I have set, I didn't hit, or it didn't even come close to the target. Had I remained unaware, I would likely have followed every step I laid out and felt very confused when years later, I realized that I ended up in the wrong place. Goals are vital, but because they give us a directional anchor point and something to work towards, but they aren't everything. And attachment to the goals actually is what I'm talking about, can screw you up. So time collapsers either consciously or unconsciously realize that goals are all about directional pull, meaning moving us forward in this direction. And it's the process of moving towards those goals that can prove really, really valuable or invaluable. They don't worry about how they get there as long as they get the end result.
Welcome to the Ed O'Keefe Show. Transform your mind, accelerate your business, energize your body, and inspire the world. Now here is your host, Ed O'Keefe.
We are in San Francisco. You can see behind me the beautiful little lookout. I got my son Eddie crying in the other room, which we're going to all ignore so my wife can handle that. They're headed to the Exploratorium, and then I have three other kids swimming, and then I'll take them in about 15 minutes. They're being watched by their babysitter. I did not neglect them or whatever. So that's it. Let's get rocking and rolling here. Okay. So chapter 5 is called The Tectonic Shift, Tsunami, and Undertow, Understanding the Power of Directional Pull. Mark Twain said, the two most important days in your life are when you are born and when you find out. Why? Let me say it again. The two most important days in your life are when you are born and when you find out why. That's great, Mark. 2 key days. And one of them, I peed all over myself and don't remember a single bit. So that leaves one more day to look forward to, and there's a strong chance I won't really know why until after I'm gone. Twain's quote sounds nice and all, but it's pretty worthless as far as I'm concerned from a practicality perspective. Worse than that, it demonstrates the exact kind of thinking that I believe slows many of us down. I don't know about you, but the whole find your purpose thing is a hard conversation to have. It's not that I think finding a mission or passion or purpose that really drives you is a bad thing. I mean, honestly, that could be the furthest thing from the truth. I really believe that I'm living my life on purpose. What concerns me is the idea that you need to have it all figured out before you get started. Think about it. If you sit down and do nothing until you have crystal clarity on your purpose, then your quote-unquote purpose is actually the thing that's getting in your way. I believe the stronger choice is to get moving, which brings us to the concepts that I've created or identified as the tectonic shift, tsunami, and the undertow, the elements that create directional pull. One of the key elements of the time collapsing system. So this is like the visual imagery of the book. There it is. The force underneath the water, the tsunami, and then So you will find your passion, purpose, and mission. B, have a lot more fun, experience success as you confusedly stumble forward in this world trying to find your purpose. You may find that is your purpose after all. So the way I like to push it is that I believe like your purpose and your mission and a lot of those things that people are in so desperate need to find are actually found in the process, and it's always evolving. So if you're okay with that in the premise on the front side, everything seems to start getting easier on the back side. So let's talk about the dirtiest man on TV and how his career took off. A great example of directional pull is the famous voice and recognizable wit of Mike Rowe. Currently working as the narrative voice of the hit TV show Deadliest Catch, and I think a ton of other documentaries, Mike has become famous for his shows Dirty Jobs and Someone's Got to Do It. He's doing what he wants to do, but would also tell you that it's a big mistake to quote-unquote follow your passion. Instead, chase opportunity. And then backfill the passion when you find the right opportunity. What attracted me to share this story was that Mike bounced around finding his direction and spent years as a QVC pitchman, honing his skills and becoming an artful communicator and salesperson. The toughest job ever is getting people to move their butts off a couch and pick up the phone to buy something, or to finish filling out a credit card order form online. This, my friends, is probably one of the hardest things to do. Getting measured literally every 30 to 60 in the book, it says minutes. That's not right. So when my editor changed the words, it's actually seconds. To see how you are doing, because the sales are coming through the phones directly correlate to how good you are and whether you get to keep your job or not. You'd have to be desperate broke or an aspiring actor to take that gig. To make it worse, he worked the 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift. Finally, after making fun of the products and belittling callers one time too many, Mike was fired. Then through, in his own words, a horrible miscalculation. Thanks, Jeff. I like the scenery in the background, too. He pitched a 3-hour special to the Discovery Channel that featured him getting down and dirty in some of the filthier professions and industries around the country. You guessed it, dirtiest jobs, or dirty jobs. The network scooped it up, and Mike found himself the host of his own show. His career took off, and over the next decade, he became known to the world as the dirtiest man on TV. But when he decided he was ready for a change, he wasn't sure how to make it happen. Where could TV's dirtiest man ever go once you're so dirty? The answer, it would turn out, was everywhere. Mike became a voiceover actor and has narrated hundreds of documentaries and been the voice and sometimes the face of commercial brands, including Ford. I think even Walmart picked him up, and that was very controversial. Then came the opportunity to make another show called Somebody's Got to Do It for CNN. Mike Rowe didn't predetermine that his mission was to be a voiceover actor or to have a top-rated show on the Discovery Channel. He bounced around until the right thing stuck, and off it went. By continuing to move in the directions he felt pulled toward, Mike was creating a tectonic shift. His time on QVC and his voiceover work for years before his tsunami of success came in. It was his lack of clarity that led to his success, not knowing his purpose or mission on the front side. But here's the funniest thing about your tectonic shift. Your results might not be noticed during this phase. The same way a tsunami, which is caused by a tectonic shift hundreds of miles offshore, can only be detected by radar until its momentum begins to build the wave. The tsunami wave shows up unexpectedly, leaving those on the beach wondering where it came from. And if we're thinking about this tsunami as a metaphor for success, that unexpected wave is what everyone else would call an overnight success. When your tsunami of success rolls in, people are likely to comment about how you came out of nowhere, but you will always say to yourself, I've been grinding away at this my entire life, or for a long period of time. You can see the invisible dots in your past that have already brought you to this point today. That is your personal tectonic shift, whether you know it or not. As you read these words right now, you already have momentum building up for you and built up for you, even if it doesn't feel that way. What do you think would happen if you were to bring that momentum to a full stop while figuring out this process and which place to direct it fully? Therefore, by trying to know with such specificity and crystal clarity what your success will look like, you might have put yourself in a trap, slowing your momentum and stressing you out. Instead of focusing on your purpose, put yourself in the direction. This leads us to the principle of the Trimtab theory of success. In his book, Mastery, A Technology of Excellence and Personal Evolution, author Tim Perrin shares the concept of the Trimtab theory. It states that if two ships were going to leave port on the east coast of the United States, and you simply change the Trimtab, a tiny mechanism on the rudder of one of the ships by 3%, you would notice no significant difference in the ship's direction for many, many miles. But by the time the ships reach their destination in Europe, they would be hundreds of miles apart. So how does the Trimtab theory apply to us? Well, I bring it up to show the difference between setting a direction and setting goals. If the ship's goal was to arrive in Spain, and thanks to a messed up Trimtab, it landed in Portugal, then the trip would be considered a failure. If the ship's captain opts for a direction, say Europe, instead of a goal, then as long as they find land, they have succeeded. If they set course for Spain and have to change course because of weather, that's okay. They can land in a bigger location. They're setting themselves up for a more probability for success. Most people fail at success principles because they don't know how to handle the reality of the path. As I audited my own goal setting routine, I noticed that many of the goals I have set, I didn't hit, or it didn't even come close to the target. Had I remained unaware, I would likely have followed every step I laid out and felt very confused when years later, I realized that I ended up in the wrong place. Goals are vital, but because they give us a directional anchor point and something to work towards, but they aren't everything. And attachment to the goals actually is what I'm talking about, can screw you up. So time collapsers either consciously or unconsciously realize that goals are all about directional pull, I mean moving us forward in this direction. And it's the process of moving towards those goals that can prove really, really valuable or invaluable. They don't worry about how they get there as long as they get the end result. And actually, a better way of putting that is not about, they don't worry about how they get there. Of course they worry about how they get there. They actually create plans, but they're understanding that flexibility in their process is actually way more what do you call it, important than having to attain things step by step by step the way they originally thought it was going to happen. Such attachment is actually what I think disables so many people. Okay, so the reality is goals change, priorities change, circumstances change, your values change. Talent flat out is not created equally. I mean, if I want to do what LeBron James is doing, the reality is I just simply can't, okay? He has his superpower. Our job is to figure out what our superpower is and then go apply this process to that, right? So, which means if you know which areas of your life you want to focus on, financially, emotionally, mentally, relationships, then A, you set out in a direction that only sets the odds up in your favor. Okay, it's very, very important here. I'm gonna move you guys over here a little bit. I want to see if you guys can get there. That's a little bit better. So you can see it. We're good. Yeah, I like that. I like that a little bit. I look here. I look there. We're good. We're good. Then B, you are creating a directional pull that helps you accomplish a ton of things, many of which are unexpected. So most breakthroughs that seem to happen in business and life and whatever kind of happen unexpectedly, right? C, understand that everything that shows up is there to guide you in its own way. So we have a mentality that it's all designed to empower us and bring us forward. And then D, apply never giving up to the process, not the outcome goal or the original plan. Because if you have this, you are guaranteed to find success in adventure and a life that lights you up. The funny thing is, in doing so, you might end up finding your purpose. My experience is that purpose is found in the process. I said that a little bit earlier. You can take on small challenges or enormous challenges, but most importantly, get dialed into this process of making them happen and loosen up your attachment to a specific outcome. Here are some examples of goals written in typical well-formed structure. My goal is to earn $500,000 by December 31st by creating value and delivering XYZ product or service, okay? Now, if you say to yourself, okay, I'm just going to focus on creating an ideal situation that I intend to occur, which is the goal. I'm going to get clear on what I control and influence and generate. I know with certainty that if I do these things, I will output a better self and put myself in a better situation to win than if I don't do that. And so we go into like, what's the critical limiting factor? What's the key focal point? Where's the key first domino? That's what we do later in the book. How do I create the context in which my goal is 100% certain to occur? Okay. Environment is everything. If your environment is not setting you up for success, then you are more likely to fail because the environment affects everything. Like I just shot a video for my members in the Time Collapsing Academy group earlier, and I was showing how like on one block here you have poverty, and then literally on the other side of this building there's wealth. And I was like, what is the difference? And it's context. It's the operating worldview and context in which the people on the one side of the street were raised or taught or believe is possible versus the other. And so context creates thinking, questions, opportunity. Who is a mentor or mentors that I can hire, learn from, follow, who have the path and plan? Who has already done this that I can model? When you take this approach, you can generate a powerful tectonic shift and incredible momentum. Hi, Reese. Obstacles will arrive, but they will also be in the company of the solution. So obstacles are positive because they actually allow us to find them and transform them. We're not fixated on obstacles. I can't stand it when I hear you always got to go the direction of the obstacle. No, it's not true. sometimes the directional path of the least resistance is the right path. But we're ingrained of like, hey, we're warriors, we're whatever, we're high achievers, find the obstacles, destroy the obstacles. No. When the obstacles show up, we don't run from them. We use them as the raw material to help create our solutions. I think, to quote Dan Sullivan. As your speed and your momentum build, you'll notice that perfect coincidences, the right people, places, items, things, process, everything starts showing up in your life because you took the first steps of moving and creating momentum. If you waited, these coincidences aren't showing up in your life, okay? The right person, idea, the funding, or a multitude of other things start working for you, okay? Small victories that are hit consistently, even in the face of micro failures, set you up to win in the long run due to power laws, okay? When you have micro wins, it's easier to experience confidence, gratitude, momentum, and this belief system of, hey, we got this, I got this, we as a culture got it. You need those early wins and micro wins, even if it's accompanied by some setbacks, to get going, because without any kind of micro wins, you don't get any momentum. Most entrepreneurs or people trying to accomplish things overcomplicate things. Therefore, they don't get any momentum. You have to get momentum in order to get to the next step of the iteration, okay? So this will be the last paragraph. I'll read. There's a few other things that are in this chapter that I'll go over tomorrow because I want to elaborate more on them when I talk about the Undertow, because it's kind of a slightly different topic and it's more about the success trap. And I don't. I think it deserves, even though it's in the same chapter, it deserves its own segment. Okay. So the last paragraph here, but I want to show you something real quick, is focus on small wins, learn from the small fails, and you'll learn a pattern of positive reinforcement that subconsciously creates a powerful pull, okay? You are not waiting till you hit your goal to experience happiness and excitement. So this is the image. There. Okay? So you see how like all these different options of how to accomplish your goal are there, and when we start off, we don't necessarily know which one of these is going to be the winner. Like, so in this one it was B6, right? And there's your timeline. Tomorrow we'll talk about this stuff here, the directional pull. But I want to say one last thing here on this. I thought I had this in the book. I don't know where. We'll get to it when I read it. When you drive like a wakeboarding boat, or any boat, but like when you drive and say you're like 20 miles an hour and then you just shut down into neutral, and your boat sinks down, and then what comes up behind you, right? It's like the wake. The wake comes up behind you, the waves, and so all that's generated from the motor, right, and the engine going. So the way I look at it is everything. So you're creating this momentum, and then everything that follows behind you is the directional pull. So for those of you who are out there who think, oh my God, I've spent all this time, I'm failing, I'm struggling, I'm not doing this, I've made all these mistakes, don't sweat that. That you've created an energy, okay, that's bringing experience, wisdom, new questions, new thinking. You have to reframe that stuff to set yourself up for a powerful next direction. Otherwise, you're just gonna destroy yourself. There's no reason to do that. It serves no one's purpose, and you're only. It just doesn't serve anyone's purpose. So please don't do that. Stop doing that. Time collapsing is about enjoying life now with taking the stuff that's happened in your past and reframing it so it sets you up for success. So everything that happens in our life, good, bad, ugly, positive, negative, indifferent, it's the interpretation of those things that allows us to either strongly move forward or not, okay? And so my perception on this and my belief is that people who have really happy lives and who really make the biggest impact and who have they have less friction, which we talked about in chapter 3, they make a conscious choice because they understand how their brain works. Like, I can choose this to make an empowering outcome out of whatever it is that is here for me. And we have some stories later on in the book that I'm going to share with you, but But please, if you know stories of that and you want to encourage other people, like whether it's stories on YouTube or whatever, please feel free to post them in these threads. I mean, this is about you and the community supporting each other. So that's it. I hope you're awesome. Make it a killer day. Create some value for other people. Believe in yourself. Say something positive to yourself and other those people around you. And that's it. All right. Appreciate you. Bye-bye. This episode is sponsored by TimeCollapsing.com. My brand new free book called Time Collapsing, The New Art of Speed, Money, Power, and Meaning. You can pick it up free for a limited time at TimeCollapsing.com. Just pay shipping and handling. You'll love it. I just ask that you spread the word and check it out at TimeCollapsing.com. Our second sponsor of the show today is No Foods. That's KNOWFOODS.com. Now, No Foods is a brand new product that I just recently invested in alongside with Jesse Itzler and many other celebrities, because it is the first bread that is grain-free, gluten-free, wheat-free, soy-free, dairy-free, peanut-free, yeast-free, and most importantly, it tastes so darn good that it's even guilt-free, because it's actually made with superfoods like chia seeds, flaxseed oil, coconuts, almonds, and egg whites. I challenge you to go out and get the chocolate chip muffins. Those are my favorite. I have them every morning with my shake, my protein shake, and then I'll have them again in the afternoon to stop any crazy craving. So check it out again at No Foods, KNOWFOODS.com for yourself, for your family, and for those you love. So that's it. This is Ed O'Keefe, and enjoy the show.
And thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast. You can find the show notes for this episode as well as all the other podcast episodes by heading on over to edokeefeshow.com. If you would, please go subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave a rating and review. Rating and reviews truly are the best way for you to show your appreciation for the show, because they help more people find out about the podcast and decide if this is the one for them. So until next week, it's time for you to go out there, take action, and inspire the world.